Hey, Brandon here. This is channeled messages on October 2024. How are you doing? I've got channel messages that came through ahead of time for you from my spirit guides, the angels, and source. And I'll also be bringing through any additional information that would be for your highest good. I'll be channeling that through from my spirit guides, the angels, and source. I'll be intuiting on all this. So let's start and let's see where this goes as I start reading these to you. So they are redirecting me to a new message that didn't come through ahead of time before I start reading these to you. So they're showing me a ghost, and they're just talking about how there have been a lot of things leaving, even like emotionally for this collective. Like maybe some of you felt like, or maybe about half of you have felt like you've been cleaned out emotionally in some way, or you just feel like you're kind of losing things in life. And this could be something you're celebrating or something you are sad about potentially, depending on or mad about, depending on where you're at, who you are with all this and what's leaving. Like, you could be losing people in your life you didn't want to be around. You could be losing something that you kind of wanted to keep. And it's all actually preparing you for the path ahead and for better. And I'm actually hearing it's actually not really a loss. It's something that will cause you to gain in the future. Now, for those of you who might have lost like a loved one or someone died or something like that, yeah, take time to grieve, take care of yourself. This message doesn't apply to that as much as like you lose a friend, who walks out of your life, or vice versa, you walk away from someone else, or you lose a job or something like that. Okay. So loss is actually preparing you for greater, is one of the messages coming through ahead of time. Or if someone ghosts you, I would take that as a sign that that person probably just like wasn't supposed to be someone who was with you in whatever capacity that relationship was going to be. Like if a job ghosts you, or a potential romance person, ghosts you or something like that, it's okay to move on from that. And I wouldn't cling to hope around that for the few of you who are dealing with that. Okay. So number one, the thing that came through ahead of time, well, there's more showing up before I start reading. So they're showing me dragons here. Dragons in this instance are symbolizing divine protection, is what I'm getting about this. And it's also about a path being trailblazed ahead of you. Like these dragons are flying like ahead of you, breathing fire down on this all this like thickets and this brush, and it looks like a difficult trail, but after the fire purges away a lot of the brush or the whatever's in the way in this intuitive visual, whatever it's symbolizing, the path is really clear. So there is a path being cleared for you this month and ahead, and this is like through 2025. Like this is kind of a big message and a big one for the future. Like the path is being cleared and prepared for you. It's actually going to be time to move forward this month regarding whatever that message is referring to, the path that one is referring to. There were messages that came through ahead of time about the path being lit up for people, both here and in the reading that I facilitate each month for the Let's Go Higher membership, specifically for the members. Like everybody got this message, which lets me know, and what I'm seeing and getting is it's a big one, okay? Where the path is being lit up. So if you felt lost and confused, it's gonna be go time. It's gonna be like, here's the path. Are you ready to take it? Are you ready to listen to what Spirit's telling you and showing you to like take the path that's lighting up? Like it's gonna be very clear. So really just pay attention, this month and the next couple months to where is Spirit directing you? What changes are you guided to make? What are you guided to walk away from? What are you guided to walk to? Like really pay attention to the changes, where they're heading, and what's really being lit up for you synchronistically, as far as like messages on where to go, what to do, who to talk to, even who to message, what to apply for. And the other thing with that is trust the flow of what's working. If you follow the intuitive message and the synchronicity, or how the signs, however it's showing up for you, or maybe a friend very synchronistically calls you and says, "Hey, I really just feel called to tell you, you should consider looking at this job. I just saw this thing and I think it'd be really great for you." And that's like Spirit, like, "Hey, here's the push, to move that direction," or the nudge, whatever you like to call it. And if you follow that and it flows and it works, great, that's supposed to be, And if you're trying to force things that's not flowing, it's like, okay, wait a second, see if it's going to flow tomorrow or another time, or see if Spirit redirects you sometime soon after something stops working, I guess you could say, or isn't flowing. Okay. And then take a moment to listen and pause. So that's a lot of information all at once. It's important for this crowd, especially for those of you who felt lost, and it just kind of makes more sense that those messages are together instead of scattered throughout the video, I guess, is what they're also saying here. So It's time to read number one. They showed me a buffalo for number one, and they said, your strength is improving. And this is like a key message for some reason. So, a certain number of you are receiving a boost of strength from the divine to handle things in your life or make certain moves you need to make. And that will, you know, to handle moves that will just be happening. If something's happening more to you, where something's happening where you have to make a move or something like that, or you need strength to handle something that's happening. For others of you, you have grown stronger in life and you are ready for the next stage in your world. And sometimes spirit grows us or grows our strength before the next step. Spirit gets us to a certain place where we're able to handle certain things in life before spirit's like, all right, here's the making it big portion. I'm not promising you're making it big this month, all of you, but that's just an example. And maybe that's a sign for some of you that you are, okay? Sometime, whether it's this month or later on. However, sometimes spirit's like, okay, you'd like to have a big house. Here's everything that comes into that. Here's the amount of money you need to make to handle the taxes every year to afford a big house and the big expenses, and you're kind of showing all these things. And if you're ready to have it, you're ready to have it, is kind of the example I'm hearing about it for some reason to explain it a little bit. But once you're grown to the point where you're ready, spirit will open the path. So if you feel very, very, very stuck this month or around this time period, I would ask yourself, how can I grow? How can you grow and be ready for the things spirit is trying to bring in or the things you're calling in? And I want to make sure I'm saying this in the best ways for you. It's the way I'm hearing it is like, how can I grow so that I'm ready to have what I'd like to have or something like that? And that might be the missing ingredient for some of you who have felt stuck for a while is you're focusing on everything except you and where you're at. But if you focus on both you and where you're at and, you know, some of the things maybe you think you need to do to be successful, for example, or the things you're guided to do to be successful, and make it take a symbiotic approach, I guess, where it's like it's including you, it's including what you're doing, it's including the target that you have, if you use the word goal, the dream, and you're working on both. That will get you further probably than just working on one or the other, okay, is what I'm hearing as an example for this. So, how can you grow if you feel stuck? Or what is the being or feeling stuck doing for you at this time period that maybe you're not acknowledging? But if you do acknowledge it and get the awareness of that, it'll just be an easier time period because you won't be fighting it so much. You'll be a bit more patient. You'll be like, okay, I can relax into this and make the most of this time period instead of fighting everything so much and making yourself miserable, by doing that. So, next paragraph for this one. For all of you, this is for all of you, you will begin to see a drip feed of the next things that are meant to come in for the next stage of your life, or may see sneak previews, if you will. Many of you have hit boiling points in your life of intention, action, and manifestation, or energetic work, or something else that will begin to create change in your worlds through this month and the next and beyond. I'm getting, again, through like 2026 for some reason. So, some of the energetics of 2025 are starting to show up. For many of you, it will be a lighter year yet ahead. So rejoice about that. How's it get any better than that? So, the sentence I kind of missed here, that change that you've been manifesting, or the things you've been manifesting, energetic work you've been putting into things you've been doing to move the needle, like that's beginning to manifest. And so that's cool. But circling back to the last point they made, you will see the new year starting this month, or like parts of it, or like what's 2025 going to be like, some of those energetics and things that 2025 will be about for you, I guess, are going to come in. And for some of you, that's like joy. So you're going to have more joy. For others of you, it's like lightness, like you've done the work. It's time for the harvest. It's time for lightness. Like that comes in. It's like, yay. For others of you, it may be an area you need to focus on, but if you focus on it, things will be greater, whether that's relationships or something else that's shown to you. I hesitate to say this because I don't want to freak you out, but maybe it's like a challenge. But if you're willing to deal with that, everything else gets greater. The example I'm hearing to explain this to you is numerology. I don't go super hard into numerology, really, I guess, or astrology. One of the points I remember hearing about with numerology, though, I don't like discount them entirely either, but one of the points I remember hearing is like there's this thing called the challenge number. And when you have a certain number is your challenge number for like a year or for a period of time, that's like one of the areas of life that might be a bit more challenging for you. So, but if you're willing to work with that and do your best to shore up regarding the challenge, or either tackle it head on or not avoid it, I guess, and do your best to improve that area, everything else gets greater and your experience gets potentially better or maybe lighter, depending on how you look at it or how you approach it. And that might not be true across the board, but it's something to consider. That's what this message is saying. If it's a challenge that's shown to you about 2025, or it's like something about feeling lonely in relationships, or it's something else like that, it's like, how can you improve your world by improving that area or dealing with it in a healthy way that's beneficial to you and potentially the world and for the highest good of all, if that counts for that. Mm, they want me to tell you about one of my challenge areas with numerology that I've encountered, okay? And it's not something I looked at the numerology ahead of time and then I was dealing with this thing. It was something I was dealing with, and then I talked to someone and they said the numerology said the same thing. And for me, it was extreme energy sensitivity, okay? And like extreme. Like, I don't hear people too many talking about what I've been through with that regarding that challenge period. And it was something I was dealing with. And then I was talking to someone, they said, hey, in your numerology, one of your challenge areas is dealing with sensitivity and being really sensitive. The way that showed up for me was energy sensitivity, okay? However, the more I've handled that area, the greater everything has become for me and will continue to, is what I'm hearing. So, how can you take that principle and apply it to your challenges? And the areas that really highlight for you with this, as I'm talking about it, that need to be dealt with and maybe you've been avoiding or haven't been dealing with because it's hard. I understand. I'm just saying it's probably going to make it easier if you deal with it and work through it instead of avoiding everything. Okay. I think that applies to almost everything, though, or maybe not everything, but potentially a lot of things. So, number two, second thing that came through ahead of time, I feel like there's more I could say on that before we move on, just to make sure I round the message out for you guys. It helps you out here. One thing I am hearing is just make sure you're dealing with things in this time period and not burying your head in the sand. You can ask yourself, what can I do about this? Or universe, assist me with this. Or universe, what will it take to change something, instead of just like burying your head in the sand like the ostriches are said to do, in cartoons and stuff. Number two, they showed me a lantern. We kind of talked about this. The path is being lit for many. There's a way forward that is being lit up for you. You will know the path you need to take. Stop trying to force things, like we talked about, and start listening. The universe is showing you. And if it's not if the universe is showing you a way that's lighting up for you and it's not the way you in your mind wanted to take, I would listen anyways and really consider it and really sit with it intuitively and really do your best to step your ego out of the way, step your mind out of the way, step your attachments out of the way and say, okay, is this the best way? Like, what will it be like? What are the energies like when you consider doing that thing? Is it lighter than maybe what you've been attached to mentally that you've wanted to do? And if it is, I'd really highly consider and probably encourage you to trust your intuition and knowing and what the universe is showing you and go that direction. Because in some way, it's going to be better than the path you're attached to or clinging to. And it might even bring the things, whether it's short term or long term, that you are trying to get out of the path you're attached to, whether in a roundabout way or something else, through that path that's lighter, or it will bring you the opportunities to experience the end result you're trying to get to, or things you're trying to experience through the thing you're attached to, through that venue or avenue. As in, the example I'll tell you is from Lee Harris. He talks about how he wanted to be a singer songwriter before. He's a channeler, by the way, so he's doing really well with, at least as far as is presented. He's doing really well. No, actually, I get that he is. He's doing pretty well with spirituality, spiritual work, channeling, and has a business in that field. And he talks about how he was really attached to the singer-songwriter path. He's like, "Nope, I'm gonna do music, and this is the thing." And then he went to this event, and the person doing the event was like, "Hey, what if God knows the best path for you and plan for you better than you do?" Well, mentally, I'd say our knowing would tell us the same thing. Source would tell us if we have our knowing and intuition plugged in and honed in, okay? So anyways, the point of that thing was the person facilitating that event said, like, you could say, God, use me. And then God will put in place the plan and things that are optimal for you. And so Lee ended up saying, God, use me. And I don't think God was like the word he would use. He might have used like source or universe or something like that. However, 6 months later, he started doing channel readings for people, and that became his business and his path and things. And then he would like put it together like, oh, I wanted to do music to like heal people with my voice and use my voice to impact the world and to do these things. He's like, wait, I actually have that through the channeling work I'm doing right now. That's really funny. But then it also came back where he started to do music anyways later on in his path when he could really afford to do it and support it and like make that successful too. So, what is the path the universe is lighting up for you actually doing for you or presenting to you? Or is it going to give you that the path that you're clinging to might not, that you think it will, but it won't? And that's why we listen to our intuition and we listen to the universe and we trust what unfolds when we manifest things that are maybe different than we expected or are not the path we thought we should take, because it's going to lead us to what we actually probably desire one way or another. It's going to lead us to what we were asking for or something better that the universe has planned for us. That is the one they want me to really highlight, the something better the universe has planned for us. So, will you trust the universe and your intuition in what you're being shown? So, the last part of this, and they to emphasize the point. So stop trying to force things and start listening. The universe is showing you. And if it's not the way you wanted to see that the universe was trying to show you, they kind of said tough. They said it just means there's a better way than you think that's available. And you have to stop projecting and judging and start listening. That will be helpful to you. So none of this is said to beat up on you or get, none of it's to say you suck. It's like, think of it as maybe tough love or something that's in your best interest. Because if you stop being attached, projecting, and judging, and you start listening to your intuition and knowing in the universe, things are going to turn out a lot better for you, pretty much in every area, all the time. And so, how that's in your best interest, right? So, uh, again, not trying to beat up on you, just trying to get you to hear the message, okay? So this last section here, the path forward is being lit. Will you follow it? And for you worry words, you can't miss this. Just pay attention, okay? Ask the universe to show you the way, and it will show you, okay? Number 3, probably beat that to a pulp by now. Number 3, lightning bug, manifestations landing. This one's great. So a lot of manifestations are coming in this month. A lot of manifestations you forgot about are manifesting as well. So think 5 years ago, 4 years ago, 3 years ago, or whatever it is. Could be 2 or less or more. This will surprise you and bring you to light. Congrats on your manifestations. That's all they said ahead of time. And if you think about this time period, at least in the Northern Hemisphere, it's the autumn. So a lot of people talk about that as the harvest period. So everyone in this crowd, even if you're in the Southern Hemisphere, I'm getting that applies to you regarding this. So that's cool. Number 4, the abundance preview. So many of you are starting to see what it's actually going to take to have abundance. For many of you, it is different than you thought. Are you willing to let go of what you thought you had to do for abundance and then instead do what it actually takes instead, whether it's more work or less? When the universe shows you truth, will you roll with it? Or will you fight against it because you believe something different? And they included this in parentheses that the second is kind of insane to do, actually. If the universe shows you truth and you're like, I believe something else, it's like, okay. So you believe something else, but the universe is trying to show you this truth that's going to set you free, that's going to lead you to greater. Why are you fighting the universe on that? Especially if you know your intuition, your divine guidance, how the universe operates for you, and it's showing you things through that. Like it's really time to listen to something I'm getting. For some reason, this video today for you guys. So please listen to what the universe is saying it actually takes and stop trying to head down a path that you believe is going to get you a certain place that's not, okay? Number 5, truth rising, blinding clarity, inevitable change. And this is for the next 3 months to prepare for an optimal 2025 through 2026 and beyond for this crowd. And this is actually going to be very strong regarding money and finances, okay? So there's going to be a lot of truth telling in this crowd, as in you guys will be doing a lot of truth telling and unveiling for others. So you'll be telling people a lot of other truths. If you channel, you might be channeling a lot of truths for people, as you probably usually do. Or if you're like a tarot card reader and you're intuiting, you might be having to lay down some hard truths for people, but it's like the right move and it's the thing that moves the needle for them and changes their world for the greater. So trust yourself with that. Or maybe it's just friends or people in your life or bosses or coworkers that you're guided to tell the truth to in one way, or the universe gives you the push to do so. On the flip side of the coin, there is also going to be a lot of truth that the universe is unveiling to you. Things that should have been obvious to you but were not obvious are going to be made very obvious and in your face so you don't miss them. Good or bad, not that we need to judge anything as good or bad, I guess. However, you know what I'm saying when I say that. Uh, Things that spirit has been trying to tell you about for months are going to be very in your face. So you can't ignore it, especially if you've been missing messages or signs somehow, which very few of you do. However, if that is you, like things are going to kind of be circling back to be like, hey, did you see this? Like, hey, did you get this message? Like, hey, we told you about this last month or 6 months ago. Do you remember this? It's time to incorporate this. Things like that are kind of what I'm being shown here. So there is going to be a certain level of clarity rising and expanding from now on, even like energetically, and it's unavoidable. The truth has to be set free, and that frequency, the frequency of truth, is finding everyone who needs it. So that's a really an important point, is that the frequency of truth is rising, expanding, kind of flooding the earth right now. It might not seem like it. I know there are a lot of lies in the media and social media and things like that. However, a lot of that's being exposed very quickly. And there's almost a bit of a truth cleanup happening on Earth over the next year or two, where just more truth is rising inevitably, and people try to cover things up and they can't, just because the truth needs to be exposed. And more people are manifesting the truth, more people are asking for it, more people are moving the energies that direction, more people are living in truth or doing their best to do so. So it's just manifesting more truth on Earth. So I would just receive this frequency when it comes and trust it has your best interest in mind. Like the truth, again, as the saying goes, is going to be the thing that sets you free. It's going to be the thing that allows you to make the best maneuvers in your life. Because if you're seeing clearly and you know the truth, like you know this route is the true route that's going to get you to where you'd like to go, or you know that the truth about a person you might try to work with in some capacity. And if you didn't know the truth, it could be very destructive if you avoided the person you weren't supposed to avoid, or if you went and worked with the person that you weren't supposed to work with. Like it can be destructive either way, or a loss either way. So it's just really important you're acknowledging the truth when you see it. And just know this frequency is going to be finding people soon, if not already, in a stronger way this month than usual, I guess. So something else before we move forward here. They're showing me an owl here, and this owl is dropping a feather. It lands in like your hat, or like if you were wearing a hat, or like people used to talk about putting feathers in their hats or whatever. It looks a little bit old timey or something out of an anime, where they draw inspiration from like people and old Western times or Neo Victorian or whatever. And it's just a message you're divinely protected. There's a lot of psychic abilities rising for this crowd further. There's a lot of enhancement to your gifts coming in if you're someone who is intuitive and you've been working on that, especially if you've been putting in the work. But it could just be happening for all of you anyways, just because of the energies on Earth at this time. And along with this truth rising message is kind of adding to it, because that can come through your gifts as well. And seeing something clearly that maybe you hadn't checked in on before, or maybe the universe just really wants you to check in on it now and see it for some reason. So to enhance your life, of course, in the world. So know that you're also divinely protected as you see the truth. It's okay for you to see it, and you're meant to be seeing it if you're seeing it. Number 6, the message is, can you trust you? It's time to put yourself before the world. It's time to stop saving the world, and it's time to make sure you are afloat first and foremost. It's time to trust that working on your world is enough right now. Stop putting pressure on yourself to save everyone, especially the people who don't ask you for help, and start making sure you are good. You matter. So, there's kind of a couple other things too. Can you trust your path? Can you trust what spirit's showing you? Can you trust your intuition? Uh, and if not, how can you work on it so that you can? Because that's going to be a superpower for you. Can you trust the universe has your back? Can you get in that frequency where you do if you don't currently? And so it's kind of like, can you trust you and your intuition and yourself first, and can you put yourself first to the optimal healthy amount that's going to be serving you for the highest good, instead of, if you're someone who's a doormat for other people, being a doormat for other people instead of letting people take from you instead of putting everyone else first and then drowning because you're not receiving enough for you in the first place. So it's really time to stop those habits where you're drowning yourself, if any, for those of you in this crowd. Not all of you are going to be in that place per se, but it is a strong message to check in and make sure you're taking care of yourself enough at this time period. Because if you're in a good place, you can help the world. Okay. If you're drowning, you're going to be reaching out to save other people, and you're either going to be dragging them down with you or you're just going to be drowning yourself further while holding everyone up until you, uh, you know, can't do it any longer. And you probably didn't have to do that in the first place, because people will ask for help if they need it, or you'll be guided or pushed to help the right people in the right time if that's your role or that's what you're guided to do. You just don't have to sacrifice yourself for others, and that energy of sacrificing yourself for others is an energy that needs to leave. Is kind of something I'm hearing. So there are a few extra messages. That's what I have for you ahead of time. So I'm going to see what else you'd like me to flow with, channeled wise, to bring through for you before we kind of start to wrap this up here. So they're showing me a lizard. They're showing me like just kind of reptiles, reptilian type things, not the alien. Okay. Um, and let's see what's up with that like spirit animal genre, I guess. They're also showing me like pterodactyls, if that means anything to you, the sign for some of you. So, and the Pokemon Aerodactyl. So, if you have young kids or if you like Pokemon. So, nothing wrong with either of those. Mm, they're kind of talking about evolution. You know how the theory is that different creatures on the planet evolved in different ways to adapt to and suit their circumstances and even to benefit the whole, and fit together in an ecosystem that's sustainable and works together to potentially create optimal thriving conditions or something. Maybe that's not the best way to phrase it, but something like that, maybe. And they're just talking about how you are evolving for your next phase ahead of time, and people around you are evolving for their next paths, their next like moves they're called to make. And you also do evolve while you are alive. It's not just through reproduction. Like there are genetic shifts that can happen and evolution that happens in creatures while they're alive. So there might be changes within you that you can't recognize or pinpoint, or you're like, why am I acting differently this day? Well, your future's calling you in a different direction, is what I'm hearing. Or you're evolving into the new you that can handle the things that are coming your way, or that can have the things you'd like to have. There's a number of different ways it could be spoken upon to get you the message. However, those are the ways it's coming through today. And like you are evolving, and this month is about evolution as well as checking your progress. Like, what progress have you made? Where are you going? And like, where are you going that you don't recognize you're going? That if you did, everything would make total sense. Cause like what they're saying is like, that's the future. Everything's going to make sense in the future, as far as like what you're going through now, what you've gone through beforehand. And I know everybody says that. However, in this case, it's true, is what I'm hearing. Like it's true. So you are headed to where you're supposed to be going. It might not seem like it sometimes. Um, and everyone gets to where they're supposed to be going at the right time for them to get there, not a moment too soon, and usually not a moment too late, even if you think you are late. So can you trust your evolution and know that you are evolving this month in major ways? You might even be taking leaps forward in your personal evolution, especially if you're working on that or you've been paying attention to that recently. And there's one more message they'd like to get to before we start to wrap this up. So let me see what the last one is. They're going back to dragons here, and they're pointing out the dragon's wings here. And it's about taking flights, though it's like magically. So you have a lot of magic to move in ways that not everyone has, and that not everyone can move. And like, can you use that and use that to your advantage and stop diminishing, like, can you stop diminishing that to, if you are, to be like everyone else around you? Or can you stop being tempted to bring that down for others around you and just own it and move uh, with your magic? And whether it's powerful manifestation, whether it's an ability to be a really powerful healer, whether it's an ability to bring through accurate messages, for people with channeling or intuition or whatever your superpower is. And can you make those moves magically and not worry about who you leave behind with this, so that you can be all of you instead of a diminished version of you that's trying to play small for others or to appease others who maybe they could have magic if they would choose it and they were willing to choose it. But you can't be held hostage by everyone else's unwillingness to be all they can be if you're someone who strives and desires and would like to be everything they can be and have the world and life they would like to have. Like, you can't allow yourself to be held back by others overly much. So, can you use your magic this month to manifest what you'd like to have, to make the changes you'd like to make, to make the changes in you you'd like to see, and allow yourself to be fully magical so that you can be all you can be and change the world that way instead of trying to change everything else by being at everyone else's level, which never really works because you're just like everyone else at that point. So how are you being different or inspiring change at that point? And what about all those superpowers you left behind to be like everyone else that actually would allow you to change the world and your circumstances? And can you stay in those instead and attract the people who will encourage you to be that fullest version of you instead of trying to appease the people around you now or people from the past who never did or maybe even actively discourage you out of it the second you step into it. Okay. It's kind of time to empower yourself, get the things that will help you expand and encourage you to expand, get the things that will support you being all you can be or encourage you to be all you can be instead of the things and contribute to you being all you can be instead of the things that convince you out of it or actively convince you out of it, no matter what it is. So take care of you this month. It potentially is going to be a good month for a lot of people here, is what I'm getting. Some of you are fighting me on that for some reason. So, okay, your choice. You could choose something else if you'd like, but I am getting for a lot of people here, it's going to be a good month. Just show up and do your best. Keep these messages in mind. Maybe reread this halfway through the month and see how it's applying to you so you can apply this a bit more actively as you're going forward and kind of make adjustments you feel called. And if you'd ever like to go further with my work, I hope that all helps, resonates, does whatever is for your highest good. If you'd like to go further, you can join my free newsletter to know whenever these come out, by the way. The channel messages on the month ahead, channel advice on the week ahead when new podcast episodes launch. And sometimes there are bonus channel messages that they throw in just for the newsletter people. So not all the time, but things like that happen. And, the newsletter might have a new direction soon. We'll see what happens with all that because that's something they're dropping on me now along with you guys. So we'll see where that all goes. I have the membership, the monthly membership, where we do a deep dive on the month ahead, kind of like this, but it's specific for the members. It's really geared towards them and the messages they need to hear for the month ahead. And the other thing is those are timeless. So if you join the membership, you also have all the previous channel messages on the month ahead that are actually for the next 30 days or so for whenever you see them. So you can, like, if you need a reading, be like, okay, I'm going to click on this one. This is the one I feel called to. And like it's supposed to, that will give you the messages you need to hear, intuitively. Because my intention with any timeless reading is it's for the people who see them whenever they see them. Okay. And by the way, if you're new to all this, or if you're someone who's interested in this work or you do this work, what I'm being guided to say is that's the way the people who are it's not meant to be pretentious, is what I'm hearing to say. That's the way the people who are the real deal operate, is they're like, okay, this is for the people showing up for this, and it's what they need to hear, or something along those lines. And they'll energetically perceive potentially what's going on with those people while they're filming it. They'll just get the messages in the moment for those people. It's never a random video blasted out with like random intuitive information, okay? It's very specific for the people who are meant to be seeing it and the people who will be seeing it, okay? So that's the intention, and that's my explanation for that. If you're newer here, you're wondering what I'm even talking about, okay? But then the membership has other channel content. You can check that all out on my website, as well as one-on-one channeled intuitive readings, one-on-one channeled and intuitive mentoring sessions, and other offerings. I also have a Reiki 1 class coming up October 14th on a Saturday. So if any of that calls to you, you can take a look at my website. There's a link below for that. Or you can sign up for my free newsletter to be kind of kept up to date with everything going on and new releases and things like that. So I hope you have a good month ahead, and I will see you hopefully in the future. Take care.